Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Rishi Harinan and C News is live at noon. Here's what's making news at this time. Candidates from the various political parties have begun to file their nomination papers ahead of the November 28th local government election. These candidates will give their papers to the Elections and Boundaries Commission's 53 returning officers at offices throughout Trinidad. Some 137 electoral districts are up for grabs in the 14 municipal corporations. The two major parties, the PNM and UNC, have already named their candidates, while several other parties have expressed interest in contesting different corporations. On Sunday, the Independent Liberal Party announced its intention to fight for the Chaguanas Borough Corporation. The MSJ is also in the contest, contesting the Arima and Point Fortin corporations and one district in Santa Flora Blanchishes. The National Solidarity Assembly has also thrown its hat in the race, saying it would contest the Sangre Grande Regional Corporation. If you recall, in 2013, the United National Congress, then government, won 6 seats while the PNM got 8. Now switching gears a bit to some crime news, a 56-year-old man and his 51-year-old common-law wife were shot and killed last night. Reports say at around 11:20, officers responded to a report of loud explosions at number 59 Kalpu Avenue, Pingla Extension, Felicity, Chaguanas. They say when they went, they observed Narayan Kalpu, a builder, slumped between the driver's seat and passenger seat of a vehicle with what appeared to be several gunshot wounds about his body. His common-law wife, Lakshmin Jagannath, a seamstress, was found lying approximately 5 feet away from the vehicle with what appeared to be gunshot wounds to her head. She was rushed to the Chaguanas Health Facility, where she subsequently died just after midnight this morning. The office hours for the returning officers for those filing their nomination papers for the local government elections will take place between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. and this afternoon it will start at 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. for the purpose of receiving the nomination for any qualified candidate. Nomination forms are available at the offices of the respective returning officers and at the Central Electoral Office, that's the Elections and Boundaries Commission office. Now we have on the line Peter Christopher, who is in the Chaguanas area, to tell us a little bit about what's happening as it relates to the filing of nomination papers for local government elections. Good afternoon, Peter.
Good afternoon, Rishi. Well, I can tell you a short while ago, both supporters of both the PNM and the UNC were gathered here as they waited for all of their candidates to finish filing papers. We were able to speak with Sharon Archie, who is the PNM candidate for Canupia, but we understand that all of the PNM and UNC candidates have filed papers and they have made no major complaints. They said the process was fairly easy and there was no tension among the supporters that were gathered there. Currently, the candidate for the National Solidarity Assembly, Mr. Samuel Jaglas, who had some issues earlier, is here. He's about to enter the building to file his nomination papers. So we're just waiting to speak with him after he comes out. That's the latest here from Chaguanas.
All right, thank you very much, Peter. And we will be trying to speak with some of other reporters who are out on the field taking a look at what's happening as it relates to the filing of nomination papers for the local government elections, which is to be held on November 28th. Now, as you recall, local government elections and the nomination process was changed in 2013 with the incorporation of the system of proportional representation. Now, this allowed for aldermen to be placed at the various regional corporations as long as a political party got more than 25% of the votes. Political analyst Dr. Hamid Ghani spoke on CTV's Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago and again explained what this means. And with nomination taking place today, he said while a list of candidates will be submitted, an equal number of names will be submitted stating who would be aldermen if a party gets the required number of votes.
Total vote cast in each regional corporation. The Elections and Boundaries Commission will advise political parties how many aldermen they're entitled to. Every regional corporation or borough city corporation has 4 aldermen. So any political entity that is able to get up to 25% total of the votes cast in that whole regional corporation is entitled to 1 alderman.
Dr. Ghani further explained that each vote counts twice and not once as it was under the first past the post system. A person selects a councillor and then their vote is counted in the selection of an alderman.
You live in an area that where the candidate in the area where you live is not likely to win, as a councillor, you vote. The person will lose in the area where you live, but the totality of votes in the area means that your vote that was cast there also counts in the totality of all the votes for the corporation, and that will go towards the final allocation for the aldermen.
You're watching the C News Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at C News Live. Now, there was a murder this morning in Guapo. The victim was identified as 31-year-old Amanda Mayers. She was found dead at her home. Police find and seize a fully loaded .38 revolver and army clothing during an exercise in the Western Division. Reports say the find was made between 5 a.m. and 11 p.m. on Saturday at a home in La Puerta Avenue. They reportedly found 3 camouflage pants, 3 camouflage jackets, 2 camouflage hats, and 1 Trinidad and Tobago Regiment tote bag. No one was arrested. The officers say they then went to Broome Street Extension Diego Martin and found a .38 revolver containing 2 rounds of ammunition. No one was arrested. Salvatori vendors in Port of Spain are planning a rally this coming Friday to let the country know how badly they are being treated. Earlier this year, the vendors were moved from their location where the old Salvatori building was and a car park created. According to their representative, Carl Daniel, the vendors were promised a new location. However, after several months, they have got nothing.
I'm a slave.
From a land so far.
From a land so far. I was put on the street with no clothes and no place to go. This is what, this is how they was treated. And it's very unfair, you know, to treat, you know, people who support whoever they support. I am not here to, you know, to bash no particular party. I am here for what is right.
Is asking the public for their support.
The vendors are human beings, you know, and if you all treat them like that, you know, after the support you all for all those years, you know, so my organization is going to be organizing, you know, a rally, and we asking everybody to come out.
Now for a look at the weather forecast for the period this afternoon and tonight. Occasional cloudy periods with light to moderate showers in varying localities. A few of these showers will become heavy and or thundery in a few confined areas. Street or flash flooding is likely in areas of heavy downpours, and in the event of a thunder shower, gusty winds can be expected. You're watching the C News report at noon. Early nomination process for the Diego Martin Regional Corporation. This according to some returning officers. The DMRC comprises of 10 electoral districts. C News visited the 4 returning offices where only 2 political parties are said to be contesting: the People's National Movement and the United National Congress. In 2013, the PNM won all the corporations. However, one UNC candidate told us that's about to change as his Burgesses needs assistance. And continuing with local government elections, political leader of the National Solidarity Assembly, Nirvan Maraj, says he is optimistic heading into the local government election. We spoke with Mr. Maraj at around 10 o'clock this morning, and he expressed confidence the party could stake a claim in this election.
I'm very, very optimistic because I do believe that the consciousness of our people are beginning to raise. I believe that people are now looking at performance rather than old talk. And I think there are many people who see representation and the individual candidate as being more important at this point in time than party symbol and party name, especially in Sangre Grande, where there are several candidates for the NSA who have had a long history of service to the people.
The NSA political leader has been in touch with his candidates during this morning and said apart from one minor issue, there were no complaints on the nomination process so far.
We have Mr. Samuel Jaglal, who went down to the Chagonas EBC office. He had 1 or 2 difficulties concerning the duplicate of a letter. So that has been sorted out, and he will be on his way back in order to file his papers.
A Haitian student who was facing deportation was given a temporary reprieve and was expected to appear in court earlier today. Luxon Saint-Herve pleaded with the chief immigration officer to have mercy, as he says he has the required permission to stay here in Trinidad and Tobago. An injunction has since been determined ex parte by Justice Budu Singh. This was done based on the submissions from Trinity Chambers. Head of the Emancipation Support Committee, Kafra Cambon, says to date, the Immigration Department has not given any real reason for their position on the issue. If you were at the Shagaramas Boardwalk on Sunday, you may have seen a noticeable amount of trash in the water. Pictures sent to CN News via Twitter, user Neil No Limit, shows a noticeable amount of trash floating around. The photo was said to have been taken at around 2 p.m. Neil also informed CN News Live that the male washroom facility was closed and no reason was given as to why. Now, CN News contacted the Shagaramas Development Authority and is awaiting a response. A delegation from Suriname is here in Trinidad looking to see how they can improve ties with the country through the manufacturing sector. While the government in Suriname is trying to keep the economy stable, there are many challenges facing the country. However, it has a vast amount of land and Trinidad a large amount of manufacturers who can contribute to developing the Surinamese and local economy.
So Suriname is seeking to provide commodities, goods and services to substitute out the international competition, meaning that they have large amounts of lands and access to fresh fruits and vegetables, and they can be a supplier to the agro-processing sector by supplying fruits, etc. Some of these are manufacturers here in Trinidad. They import their raw materials from as far as China. And we're saying that Suriname is part of CARICOM, and they have the capacity. The firms are all HACCP and GAP certified, so they meet all the international requirements.
Now, the head of the delegation explained Suriname is not trying to take away from the market share here, but it is trying to fill the shares taken up by the foreign imports.
As you know, Suriname is a full member of CARICOM. Many people tend not to know or to forget. And if one of our fellow members of CARICOM is importing from abroad, outside of CARICOM, we are trying to convince them to look for the opportunities which Suriname has abundantly to import from CARICOM. And it will be cheaper, of course, because of duties and other trade barriers and restrictions. So it's nowhere trying to compete and take away market share.
Now, looking at energy news, the oil markets have been the talk of this morning, with some jitters over the U.S. election on Tuesday and OPEC still opting not to cut output. Time for sport news, and we begin with the news of cycling, and now where the top performers from the last 2 years were celebrated at a special awards function held at the Cycling Velodrome in Couva. The Federation handed out awards to the young and the old and everyone in between as they celebrated some outstanding performances over the last 18 to 24 months. And among the big winners was the talented Akil Campbell, who picked up the prestigious President Cup Award for a stunning 2015 season. But a year later, he gave way to another outstanding rider in Jivan Samuel, who capped off a very productive season, especially during the national championships, netting him the President's Cup Award for 2016 as the standout rider of the year. Cricket now, despite losing ace fast bowler Dale Steyn on the second day of play and not having A.B. de Villiers available on this tour, South Africa has pulled off a major upset, defeating Australia by 177 runs in the first test match in Perth. Australia needed 538 runs to win the game, but despite 97 from Usman Khawaja and 60 from Peter Neville, they only managed to get to 361 all-out. Kagiso Rabada picked up 5 for 92. Well, we've been focusing on local government nomination day, which is today. Several of our reporters are out on the field to see what's happening. Now, earlier we spoke with Peter. Now we have Karen Cozier-Phillip on the line. I understand she is in the east. Good afternoon, Karen.
Good afternoon, Rishi.
How are things looking out in the east?
Okay, well, we are outside the Tinapuna-Piarco Regional Corporation, where 4 out of at least 7 candidates have already filed their nomination papers. 2 for the UNC, 1 for the COP, and 1 for the TNM so far. Well, the offices are closed now. They reopen at 1 o'clock. So we may see other 2 or 3 candidates come during the afternoon period. What we can tell you is that we are caught up with the COP chairman, Jameson Bahadur, and he is going up for the Curab Haji seat in the Tunapuna-Piarco Regional Corporation. He confirmed with us that the COP is only sending up 10 candidates in this local government election. 7 of those candidates will be here in the Tunapuna region, 1 in Point Fortin, 1 in San Fernando, and 1 in Laventil. He told us they knew where the COP was strongest, and that's why they decided to concentrate on the TPRC here and send most of their candidates up in Tunapuna region. We also caught up with Khadija Amin, the chairman of the deputy political leader, of the United National Congress. She confirmed that that party is sending up 137 candidates, as she said, by 11 o'clock this morning. Most of their candidates had filed their nomination papers, and it was a smooth process. We also caught up with Edmund Ford, who is the MP for Tunapuna here, supporting his candidate for the PNM. He also said that everything went smoothly. They had no hiccups, although the process is a bit long. The candidate spending at least an hour inside doing the nomination process. He said he was very confident, although with reduced revenues, the Tunapuna Regional Corporation was able to accomplish a lot of the targets it had set for the last 3 years. So that's how it's been going out here in the Tunapuna region. Rishi, I guess you can check back with us a little later for another update.
Thank you very much, Karen. And yes, we will be keeping in contact with all our reporters out on the field to find out what's going on as it relates to the nomination process for the local government election. Well, that brings us to the end of the C News report at noon. Remember, today is nomination day for local government elections, which is to be held on November 28th. So you can stay with C News as we bring you all of what's happening across the country. I'm Rishi Harinanan. Have yourself a good afternoon.